Today we're going to unlock the secrets to train your mind to become limitless and achieve any goal you have. I'm here to guide you through the profound wisdom that can reshape your reality. Let's break down this amazing idea in simple terms. Imagine you're holding the key to a fundamental principle, the superpower of your emotions. This principle says that when you feel really good, like when you're over the moon with happiness, that feeling is like a magic carpet carrying your thoughts. Now picture the universe as this gigantic playground filled with energy and frequencies. Everything, I mean everything, is buzzing with information. It's like each bit of energy is a tiny messenger carrying a message. Now here's the cool part. These messengers have different speeds. The faster they move, the more energy they carry. But wait, there's more to this magical recipe. Take those speedy messengers, add in a super joyful feeling, an emotion that's like your heart doing a happy dance, and sprinkle in a crystal clear intention. What happens next is mind-blowing. It's as if you've created a laser, a super-focused beam of energy that has the power to shape your reality. Let's put it in simpler terms. Think of your joyful emotion as the rocket fuel for your thoughts. The faster this joyful rocket fuel goes, the more powerful it becomes. Now blend in a clear intention. That's like putting on the rocket's navigational system. It gives your joyful rocket a precise direction, like a laser with a specific target. So when you combine this speedy, energetic rocket fuel with a joyful emotion and a clear intention, you're not just thinking about something, you're creating a special kind of energy signature. It's like signing your name in the universe with a sparkly, magical pen. This energy signature isn't just floating around randomly. It's purposeful. It's like you're carving your dreams into the fabric of the universe. Remember, this isn't science fiction. It's the real deal. Your thoughts, fueled by joyful emotions and clear intentions, are powerful creators. They shape the world around you. Imagine your thoughts as architects drawing the blueprints of your reality. The more joyful and intentional your thoughts, the more magnificent and purposeful your reality becomes. It's like you're the director of your own movie, and every emotion, every intention is a scene in the script. We've measured this phenomenon, and guess what happens when your brain and heart synchronize into coherence? Magic. Something truly amazing unfolds in your life. But here's the catch. It's not just about feeling gratitude or having a clear intention. No, we've done experiments, and it's the combination of a clear intention with an elevated emotion that works wonders. The emotion is the energy, the frequency, the carrier of the thought. It's like tuning a radio dial to the station of your dreams. Now let's talk about vibration and energy. When your energy vibrates in harmony with the potential in the quantum field, a vibrational match occurs and your desires find you. Intention is the key. Get crystal clear on what you want. Want a new home? Envision it. Create a visual representation. Immerse yourself in the details. Make it a habit to focus your conscious mind on those dreams and watch as your subconscious takes you there. Impatience? Well, that's a signal that you doubt whether something will happen. But remember, we're here to experience life, to relish in the magnificence of our creations. Think of your goals like tending a garden. You'll pull weeds, prune branches, fertilize, and face challenges, but the joy lies in consuming the fruits of your creation. Now, your senses should be the last to experience what your mind has created. The intention encompasses all the details, but it can be summarized in a symbol, a letter, a picture. Hold that symbol, and you hold the essence of your dream house, your dream garden. But here's the trick. Don't say, "I'll be happy when this happens." Instead, understand that the thought itself is the experience, and the experience produces the emotion. As you open your heart, coherence sets in, and a measurable magnetic field emanates from you. Gratitude becomes a broadcast into the field, carrying the intent of your thoughts about health and wealth. But beware, if you're suffering, that energy won't carry thoughts of wealth. It's a different set of thoughts. Believe in your imagined future with all your heart, keep your heart open, and self-regulate when you disconnect from that energy. Let's break it down and get into the nitty-gritty of turning your dream into reality. So, you're dreaming of that perfect house, right? Well, let's make it happen step by step. First things first, grab some pictures, get out your pencil, and start jotting down your thoughts. Make drawings of what your dream house looks like and write down everything that comes to your mind about it. Think of it like creating a vision board, a visual representation of your dreams. Now, don't just stop there. Add layer upon layer of dreams. Let your imagination run wild. What kind of garden do you want? How does the living room feel? What color is the front door? The more details, the better. It's like building a beautiful, intricate puzzle, piece by piece. Here's the secret sauce. Keep your mind focused. Don't let distractions steer you away. Imagine your mind as a spotlight, and right now, it's shining on your dream house. Let that spotlight stay fixed on your vision. Your mind is powerful, and when it's laser focused, amazing things start to happen. Now let's talk about time. Yes, it takes time, just like tending to a garden. Gardens don't bloom overnight, do they? You plant the seeds, water them, and patiently wait for the flowers to blossom. Your dream is like that garden. It requires care, attention, and a bit of time. Be patient with the process. But let's talk about the reality we create. We're all reality-producing machines, constantly causing effects. However, as we age, we often shift from learning to feeling, relying on past experiences to predict the future. This reliance on feelings, often rooted in survival, can lead us down a path of stress and imbalance, setting the stage for breakdown and disease. So, are you in a state of creation or survival? The chemicals of survival are highly addictive, and breaking free from them requires discomfort. True self-love comes from transcending limitations in thought, action, and feeling. It's liberating the energy trapped in anger, hatred, or prejudice, transforming it into joy. You must be willing to go beyond what you thought possible. Now let's dive into the subjective mind's influence on the objective world. Newtonian physics is all about cause and effect, something external changing something within us. But we are reflections of our environment, limited by it if we think and feel equal to it. To break this cycle, we must change something within us, in our consciousness, thoughts, and feelings. This process isn't about simply changing our minds like choosing between vanilla and chocolate ice cream. It's about altering our neurology, circuitry, and chemistry. It's about changing the very expression of our health and life. When you make that emphatic declaration and truly change, there's a biological, neurological, and quantum effect. It's undeniable. So here's the takeaway. Train your mind to become limitless. Embrace the power of elevated emotions, clear intentions, and the coherence of heart and mind. Picture your dreams vividly, make them a part of your daily focus, and let your subconscious lead you to them. Remember, impatience is just a sign of doubt. Be the creator, venture into the unknown, and relish in the joy of your creations. Break free from the chains of survival emotions. Embrace discomfort as you transcend limitations, liberate trapped energy, and experience true self-love. Understand that your subjective mind has a profound effect on the objective world. Shift from being influenced by your environment to influencing it through changes within. Now, your brain is organized to reflect everything you know in your life. Your brain is a reflection of your external environment. It's an artifact of all the things you've learned and experienced to date. Feelings and emotions are the end product of past experiences. And if you're feeling the same way every single day, it means two things. Number one, nothing new is happening in your life. And if those emotions are driving certain thoughts, and those thoughts then are creating the same emotions, then your thinking equal to your emotional state means you're thinking in the past. And if you believe that your thoughts have something to do with your destiny, as long as you're thinking equal to your familiar emotions, you keep reaffirming the same past experiences in your life over and over again. Our research shows without a doubt in the last 3 years that when students of our work combine a clear intention. Now, intention is a vision, a potential that already exists in the quantum field that you get to select. And when you ask yourself a question like, what would it be like to be healthy? What would it be like to be wealthy? What would it be like to be free or to be in love? The moment you ask that creative question, a part of your brain called the frontal lobe turns on. That's the crowning achievement of the human being. Once that area of the brain turns on, it's like a great symphony leader. It looks out of the landscape of the entire brain, and it begins to randomly select different networks of neurons that are connected to the things you've learned in your life or the experiences you've had. And it begins to seamlessly paste them together to create an ideal, a vision, or an internal representation. That is a potential experience that's awaiting you. But it's not enough to just have the mind involved. Thoughts are the language of the brain, and feelings are the language of the body. And how you think and how you feel creates a state of being. Once you can begin to emotionally embrace that future reality before it's made manifest, when you combine that clear intention with an elevated emotion, the freedom, the joy, the inspiration, the genuine love that you feel or gratitude from that experience, the moment you do that, your body, as the unconscious mind, begins to believe it's living in that future reality in the present moment. Now you're moving into a new state of being, into a new personality, and a new personality creates a new personal reality. The research that we've done shows that when we teach people how to regulate their internal states, to begin to create more coherence in their brain, and to generate elevated emotions like joy and gratitude and inspiration, that not only does the brain become coherent, but so does the heart. And when the brain is coherent, the heart is coherent. When the heart is coherent, the brain is coherent. And so why don't we live by these states on a daily basis? Primarily because the majority of the time that we live in our waking state of consciousness, 70% of the time, you and I are living by the hormones of stress. And living in stress is living in survival. And when you're living in survival, the very chemicals of survival cause you to function as materialist, defining your reality with your senses. You pay attention to objects and things and people. You begin to believe that your outer world is more real than your inner world. And the side effect of this over time begins to cause us to feel separate from possibility. Why? Because when you're threatened by some predator or some danger in your life, it's not a time to go in. It's not a time to trust the unknown. It's not a time to open your heart and feel love. It's not a time to communicate. It's not a time to create. It's not a time to learn. It's a time to survive. So then, in order for us to create, we have to lay down the very thing we used our whole life to get what we want, for something greater to occur. And most importantly, we want you to understand when you're in the creative state and when you're not. And if you were to take a little time every day and apply some of the principles in changing beliefs and perceptions about yourself and your life, and what is a belief other than a thought you keep thinking over and over again? And all beliefs are based on past experiences. And in order for you to change a belief or perception about yourself and your life, you have to make a decision with such firm intention that the amplitude of that decision carries a level of energy that's greater than the hardwired programs in your brain and the emotional conditioning in your body. And your body literally has to respond to a new mind. And when the choice becomes an experience that you never forget, that's the moment the past biologically no longer exists in you. People use the word victim so much, and I don't really think we spend a lot of time really unraveling the idea. And it's just those beginning moments where it begins to happen that we begin to prove to ourselves how powerful we really are. So take time in the morning and the evening and the rest of the day. Check in with yourself at certain times to see if you're still in that energy. And if you're not, excuse yourself for a second, raise your energy and step back into your life. If you keep doing that over and over again, you'll become less frustrated, less impatient, less judgmental. You'll just become something of the past, and you'll be someone else. When you finish your meditation, if you get up feeling the same way as you sat down, nothing really happened. Nothing happened neurologically, biologically, chemically, hormonally, genetically. You're still in the same state of being. But when you get up and you feel like an elevated sense of self, your heart is swollen, and you have a clear vision of your future, and your energy's different. The question is, how long can you maintain that state? So you're literally broadcasting a whole new electromagnetic signature in that state. Thoughts tend to be electric, and feelings tend to be magnetic. The way we think and feel is what we broadcast into the field. And what we broadcast into the field is our experimental destiny. So then when you go within and you disconnect from your outer world and you sit your body down and it's no longer experiencing anything and you're not thinking about your schedule, your past, or your future, as I said today, you're being defined by thought and you're making your inner world more real than your outer world. When you open your eyes and you present yourself to the world, the job then is to not react emotionally to the same conditions in your life, because the moment you react emotionally, you're equal to the conditions in your life and you're back in your past. So then when you fall from grace and you move off that state, then you sit down and you realign. You begin to tune in again and you change your energy again. Now, when I'm going through change in my life or I have a specific outcome that I want to create, I love to get up early in the morning. That's my time. I'm a 4:30 in the morning guy because that's my time. The rest of the day, I'm serving. But I love getting up early and changing and working and having some time to myself. And I believe that when I invest in myself, I invest in my future. And that time in my morning, nobody bothers me because that's my time. And because of brain waves and brain chemistry, the door between the conscious mind and the subconscious mind is more open. And so if I get up early and I'm kind of between theta and alpha, I don't have to work as hard, I'm not thinking, I just kind of relax into the moment. In the evening, I always ask myself, how did I do? How was one lifetime in one day? Where did I fall from grace? What happened? And so then when I look at seeing how I reacted to someone or something, or I made the choice that I could have made a better choice, I naturally, we all do this, begin to think, well, if the same situation happened again, how would I do it differently? And that's the act of beginning to come up with a new plan. The act of rehearsing it in your mind begins to install the circuits in your brain, priming your brain so that when the next experience happens, you could modify your behaviors and do a better job in life. That's called plasticity. If you decide, okay, if I'm taking time out of my busy life to emulate the divine creator, then if I'm going to create something unlimited, I better feel unlimited. If I'm going to do something magnificent, I have to become magnificent. And if you keep doing that over and over again, it will begin to become more readily available to you. It'll get easier. And so when we're in that energy all the time, that's when the synchronicities and the serendipities and all those wonderful coincidences begin to happen. And it's those coincidences that are feedback in our environment where the field begins to open doors for us. That's what we want to occur. Now, I have worked on things in my life, and I'm a sincere person. I've worked on things in my life for years, and I always thought it was about the event or the experience I wanted to create, but all along I was changing. And when I finally reached a point where I could care less if I could have the experience is the moment it happened. But all along, the divine loving intelligence, this mother-father principle, of course, it's observing us into life. We are vitalistic, energetic beings that when we begin to unify all these principles that we're talking about, you can't get this in one sitting. You can't, you have to keep understanding it, keep reviewing it, keep redoing it, keep experiencing it. And new experience then causes you to dream in a way you would have never dreamt before unless you had that experience. And that's how God gets to know itself. So then I don't care what meditation you do, I just like the fact that you're connecting. And the more you connect, the more whole you feel, the more natural it becomes. Then, of course, the next experience then causes you to dream in another way. And what I know from my own experience and many students, it's not about material things. It's about those mystical moments, those transcendental moments, those moments where your jaw drops and you are in awe of life. those moments that take our breath away, that cause us. And this has happened to me so many times. Every time I have one of those experiences, I think to myself, I got this all wrong. I got this all wrong. Some veil has been lifted, and now I'm seeing more clearly about the way things really are. Intention is, you may say, I want a healing. I want a new job. I want a new relationship. Now, the moment you ask the question, the what-if question, what would it be like to be in love? What would it be like to have a new job? What would it be like to be in a new relationship, to do whatever, to be healed? The moment you ask that question, the part of your brain called the frontal lobe, which is the crowning achievement of the human being, 40% of your brain is the frontal lobe. It's the workshop, it's the creative center. Frontal lobe has connections to all other parts of your brain. The moment you ask an open-ended question, you speculate a possibility. The creative center turns on, and it looks out over the landscape of the entire brain, and it begins to call up different networks of neurons that are stored in your brain based on something you've learned intellectually, knowledge, or something you've experienced in your life. Like, well, I know what it is to be in love, or I know what it is to have a good job, or I read a book about it, and it begins to call up these different networks of neurons, and then it seamlessly pieces them together to create a new idea, a new vision. And when you put all those networks together and they fire in tandem, you'll get a clear picture in your mind. And that clear picture is called intention. Now, the more you have conditions, or the more you have specifics about that job, like, for example, I want to make this amount of money more a year, I want to have health benefits, I want to have 3 weeks vacation, I want to travel, I want to work with great unlimited creative people. That all is the elements that help to add to that vision. Now, the picture you get in your mind could be the word job, or it could be just an image that's personal to you. But the image then represents all of those conditions. So you can have several conditions that make up your intention. But the intention typically is a symbol. Like, you may see a retreat center that you may want to start, and you have a picture of it. But once you see that picture, the next thing that happens, you start to live that dream. The moment you start to take that dream and it turns into a living motion picture, now you're in that imaginary place. What happens is, the moment it starts taking on form and it starts taking on time, you start to experience it. And all the things you're going to do, you're actually living in that future. And your brain does not know the difference between the actual event that takes place in your life and what you're imagining in your mind. We call it mental rehearsal in my work. But you're literally rewiring yourself to the future. Now, your brain is no longer a record of the past. And when you stretch yourself past that point and you break free from the chains of those emotional addictions, the side effect of that is called joy. And the body is liberated from that level of mind. And when that happens, there's available energy to create with. And so when you break through that, you begin to love yourself. You begin to respect yourself, and you begin to love and respect others because you see yourself in them. And now that you're free from it, you can understand them with compassion without knee-jerking in the same way. So the difficulty here is really making the time to do it. And if you began to think about a new way of being, and you moved into a state where you said, I'm not going to get up until I am this person. And not only did you memorize it neurologically in your brain, but you allowed the thoughts that you were thinking to become the experience, to the point that your body, as the unconscious mind, began to live in that future reality in the present moment. And when you got up, when mind and body were working together in that state of being, and you said, I'm going to maintain the state of being my entire day, and I don't care. Bring on the challenges, because I want to test my greatness. And you did that the entire day. The end of your day, when you finished your day, more than likely you'd have more energy than when you started. The literal translation of the word meditation in Tibetan means to become familiar with. The symbol means to become familiar with. So if you're becoming conscious of or familiar with your unconscious self to the point you're so conscious of your unconscious thoughts, so familiar with your unconscious habits, and so aware of your emotions that you would never let them go by unnoticed by you. There's no chance for you to return back to the old self, to know thyself, and then, if you became familiar with a new self because you neurologically fired and wired it in your brain and you emotionally conditioned your body and you were able to do it enough times, sooner or later it would get easier and it would become more familiar to you. And you would be able to move into that state of being. By the way, a new state of being is a new personality. And a new personality is a new personal reality. One of the things about substances is that it actually helps to change chemistry in the brain and body. So there becomes a chemical dependence on it at that point. But the person who wants to change has to want to change. That's the first element. In other words, no one can make you change, but you have to find it in you to really see if this is what you want to do. And I've studied people over the last 12 years. Why is it that one person, an old-timer, can look at his x-rays and see a spot on his lungs, and the doctor will say to him, "Hey George, that's a spot on your lungs. It's nothing now, but if you keep smoking, it will be." And that guy just takes his cigarettes, throws them in the trash, and he's done the next day? How do you explain that? He made the decision, and the decision was an experience, and it began to rewrite his chemistry and his biology. Hey, how can a person who moves into a state of religious ecstasy, a state of absolute faith, drink strychnine and not get poisoned by it? It's a decision. Wow. It's an energetic decision. That's what the mind really is. People then who actually want to make the decision to change have to make the decision with firm intention. Once you understand the how-to, that you can't use your conscious mind to do this. You have to move beyond the analytical mind. And when you understand brainwave patterns and when you slip into a different state of mind, that it's easier to do it. Most people then, 95% of who we are by the time we're 35 years old is a set of memorized habits and behaviors that become part of our identity or personality. So 5% of the conscious mind is trying to change 95% of what we've memorized, hardwired, become addicted to emotionally. So the person may want to think positively, but they've been feeling negatively and oiling those programs for the last 25 years. They may want a new life with new conditions. And as they use their mind, conscious mind, to focus on that, their subconscious mind, they've been programmed to feel guilty. That's mind and body in opposition. We have to begin to recondition the body to a new mind. So change isn't hard. It's just that you've got to get the manual to understand how to begin to unlearn and relearn, to break the habit of the old self and reinvent the new self. The latest research in neuroplasticity tells us we're not hardwired to be a certain way for the rest of our lives. The latest research in epigenetics says we're not doomed by our genes, that in fact we're marvels of adaptability and change. So as a person started to contemplate and think about who do I want to be when I open my eyes, what would it be like to be happy? What would it be like to live a new life? The frontal lobe is looking out into the landscape of the entire brain because it has connections to the entire neocortex, and it's got to resolve the problem. So it starts calling up different networks of neurons that are relevant to the question based on the knowledge the person learns or the experiences that they had. And it begins to seamlessly piece together this new understanding, and that's called intention. And so if you're reading a book about how to become more happy, or if you're reading a book on how to be a leader in your life, or you're studying the process, every time you learn something new, you add new connections to your brains and raw materials for you to imagine even more. The act of mentally rehearsing begins to install the neurological hardware in your brain to look like it's already happened. Now, the brain is typically a record of the past, but the moment we install the neurological hardware, it becomes a map to the future, and you keep doing that, the hardware becomes a software program, which means you start thinking like a genius, you start acting like a happy person, because there's no mystery there because you installed the circuits. And then these people didn't wait for their wealth or their health to feel gratitude and to feel empowered or to feel love, a love for life. They began to feel those emotions ahead of the experience, and their body is the unconscious mind. doesn't know the difference between the experience and their life that creates the emotion and their emotion that they're creating by thought alone. The body's believing it's living in the future in the present moment. And the stronger the emotion that they felt, the more they're going to pay attention to the thoughts they're thinking. And now all of a sudden they're changing their biology from living in the past present reality to living in the future present reality. And I was so intrigued by this process that I went back to school to study neuroscience because it was the answer in the internal process of rehearsing and imagining. They had long moments where they lost track of time and space, where when they opened their eyes, they thought it was maybe 15, 20 minutes later, and it was an hour and 15 minutes later. When we get into the present moment, there's a moment where you lose track of yourself, you forget about yourself, and only in the present moment do you have access, according to the quantum model of reality, to other possibilities. And when you're truly in the present moment, the generous present moment, that's the moment then that you are no longer living in the familiar past or the predictable future. And in order for us to change, I realize that we have to get beyond our environment. And what's our environment made of? People, husbands, kids, bosses, objects, things, places. You got to get beyond your emotions, your body, your pain, your disease, and you got to get beyond this concept of linear time. So when we get beyond our body, our environment, and time, we become pure consciousness. And now that consciousness can begin to connect to the consciousness of the field.